Good afternoon and welcome to the virtual staff room. Today we're going to be looking at all the updates that have happened over the last month or so. So all the updates that came in through the September updates kind of storm, if you like. And hopefully you can see my slide deck, and I'm going to work through them each in turn. I will share this with everyone after the presentations, just that you've got all the information should you need it. Just as I go through, you'll see what I've done. I've got the month date because I'm going to use this same slide deck each month now throughout the year to keep you updated. So hopefully we'll see you on a monthly basis at these sessions. And I'll summarize the month in the first slide and then go through each of those in turn and explain the implications for the users as we go through. So our first one that came in early in the month was the option to restore a single page via version history in Google Sites. It was the case that version history has been there for a little while, but only just very recently have they allowed you to update by a single site. Actually, I just realized it's going to be better because I need to just stop sharing and share my entire screen because I'm going to be flipping around tabs. So let me just reshare. Oh, I've gone to the wrong place. Click the wrong button. Entire screen. There we go. Okay. So just so that you can see it, I just happen to have, in the best Blue Peter tradition, have made a site that I'm going to be using now. In the three dots, first option, you've got version history. And if you select an earlier version, so I go to that one there, I'm on this page that's clearly no longer got the picture in it. Instead of going and updating to this version of all the pages on the site, so all pages would update, I've got the option just to restore that single page version. So that page would update to the one I want to go back to, but all the other pages are unaffected. So it's not a global update now. You can be much more sophisticated in the way that you do. So if you've only made mistakes on a single page, it allows you to do it. Great for a whole range of situations in education where students have got to keep their portfolios up to date, teaching resources that connect to a course that you're running, for example, all of those kinds of things. So it seems to me that it's a really useful recent addition, which is fantastic to see that happening. So that's restoring a page via on Google Sites. Forms, settings, I suspect you've probably all seen this now. I think this is fully rolled out. I've got a number of domains that I can check across. The cog in the right-hand corner on Google Forms has now gone, and it actually sits here on settings. So if you click on settings there, the main settings are now with expandable drop-down lists. So you've got almost all the settings you should want in one place. You have still got a couple of other things. I know they've moved them now, so they've gone as well. So that's good. Let me just see if it arrives here. Oh, that's interesting. Oh yeah, question defaults. They've put them there, making it required. Okay, so you can see that it's all in one place, 3 tabs across the top now, rather than the previous 2. So you've got access to all those settings all in one place, which is nice and useful. Google chat rooms are now Google Spaces. I've written watch this space because if you actually look at the chat rooms, they kind of sort of are. Here are my rooms. Look, in my mail. They're still called rooms here. On my mobile app, they're called Spaces now, and they've updated in my mobile app, but not on the screen. But if I click the plus sign, the language of the menu here is already on Spaces. So I suspect at some point soon, this word rooms will change to Spaces, but it's kind of almost there. It might already be there for you. They do this over usually about 2 weeks, and it's not all domains all at once. So some of you may well already have that updated as Spaces. But it will be here very, very shortly. They're already in place, just not quite fully completed the update. So that's the chats rooms now called Spaces. This one is an iOS version. So I can't demonstrate this. I don't have a mobile to demonstrate it, but you can actually review presentations with a little bit more ease on the iOS Google Slides app, just to make the finding and seeing what's in those a little bit easier to do. So it's just on iOS. I presume it will come to Android soon. Interestingly, they do that very often, that iOS gets done before the Android. I don't quite know why, but that's the way it is. So that's now in place, I believe. Setting the default for quick access and host management in Meet. I mentioned it within the admin setting. I know it's kind of the page that this links to takes you to the admin settings, but actually you can do it with inside a Google Meet for yourself. So I go to My Meet and go to my shield in the bottom right hand corner here. You'll see I've got those things, so I can turn off the host management tools. So that's what anyone that isn't already invited can't join. I can prevent you lot from sharing your screens. I can prevent you from using the chat message, and I can turn the quick access off completely should I want to. So they're already in place there to allow that to happen. I'll show you the mute all because that is in there. So if I go to the list of people who are in attendance, if there was some background noise and I had lots and lots of people in the Meet, a whole class, for example, and someone forgotten to mute, you can literally just mute all. You can't unmute, don't forget. And coming soon, there's going to be a turn all cameras off as well, should you want to. That's not here yet, but that'll be arriving soon. So that all muted is really useful because it means that that feedback issue that sometimes happens when people don't mute properly, you can manage yourself at your end, which is great. Gives you a bit more extra control as the host of a meeting, which is really what we want to be able to do. So that's that one. This is quite nice. I think this has been a long time in coming. Particularly, I think AET uses their sites pretty extensively. They've got lots of stuff. Some other software that they recommend sits on a site for all their teachers to go and look at and things. So the facility to be able to design your own. I'll close my sites down. Go back to this one. I've got a demo one in here. That one. So I've already applied a theme to this one. So in your themes now, you can see I've created a demo theme here. Yeah, but actually making a demo theme of your own is really, really simple. There's a blank one there. Look, here are the ones that were already in place. So you just click the plus, give it a name. If you want to add logos and banner image, you can do that. I haven't got images prepared for that one, but you can do that already. And then it's just about following the prompts. Decide on the colorway, and you've got 16 to choose from there. And then go next, and then decide on fonts and for your titles and your body text, and go create theme. It applies it to the site that you're working on. But then whenever you go back to themes, it's going back out of there, you've got your themes ready to use and apply for any other sites that you build, which is really great, particularly if you want that kind of corporate image across multiple sites, if you're building a template for people to use and that kind of thing. So it's a great additional tool that's coming along. Sites are getting there, I think, bit by bit. They're slowly adding extra bits in, and look forward to getting them. It's page level permissions I'm looking forward to arriving. I thought that was a really useful tool in old classic sites that isn't there yet, and I think that's needs to arrive pretty soon, but let's see what happens. So blocking and unblocking people in Google Drive. You may have noticed that message appearing on the top of your web-based Meet, that you can now do that. There's a little note that tells you how to do that. But it's just about managing the way that people do that. But that's now available on the Android app. Okay. But I want to show you the blocking a little bit later. I was just checking this morning. I think this is limited by domain as well, because this isn't on my C Learning domain, but it is on my own personal domain. But when I do a search, I get these little extra options underneath that you see in the standard Gmail. When you get the option to click the buttons to automatically have an attachment, or see whether it's sent to or sent from or all those kind of things. So these will now start to appear on your Android app in your Gmail. I find these really, really useful. I use these loads when I'm searching for emails that I can't remember who it's from, or whether it's looking for an attachment that someone shared with me or whatever. So I find them enormously useful on the web-based app. So I'm really pleased that these are soon to arrive on the Android app as well, because I use my mobile a great deal for quite a lot of the work that I do, of course. This is really nice, really neat and clever. I think this is kind of Google's AI at work again. It'll make judgments about any people within the Meet who are in darker environments, and automatically add a kind of brightness filter to their particular screen so you can see them better. I think it's AI at work in Meet. AI does that thing, doesn't it, currently already, that if someone puts their hand up, once they've spoken, it automatically lowers their hand so you know that they've finished saying what they need to say. I think that's another AI tool, and this is part of that whole group of AI tools that will improve that visibility. So that will be a nice little thing, and you should just see that start to appear automatically. It's not in yet. The image is only for illustration purposes on it. It won't necessarily look like that when it's applied. I have no idea what it will look like, but it's on its way and will be here shortly. So there is a chat app, and they're going to be nudging people to upgrade to it and to encourage you to install the old app. I think that might well be the trigger that means that you get the spaces instead of rooms in the Google chat. Maybe that's when it will happen. But if you haven't done that already, then on the September summary page, you'll see there's a link to show you how to do that. So you're working with the actual app rather than the new app, rather than the old apps. Just a kind of thing that you might well already have seen those reminders coming up. Mute all we've already covered, and I knew it was coming, so I mentioned that when I was talking about the other features in Meet. Okay, so this is a move that Google are kind of in the full swing of. It's about the integration of the apps from other apps, and actually you'll see that happening more and more. That you'll be able to make it easier to I've just realized that the pictures isn't about the comment. Easier to chat with. It's the easy chat isn't the thing I'm talking about here. It's about the backgrounds on the mobile app. I don't know what that is. I must have made a mistake when I wrote that in there. So you can now add those into the mobile app, both on iOS and on Android, should you want to. It's only theirs, or you can add your own image. You can see in the little video, the little GIF, you've got the option to add your own image as well. Okay, there is an admin setting, but I'm going to cover that tomorrow with James. So we'll come back to that because you've got to allow that within your domain. But we'll talk about that tomorrow in the admin updates. And those are all the updates that are came to me in September. I'm sure there's some that I missed, maybe. Or there was one that I didn't do, which was the blocking users. That came in, and I thought, oh, that's really interesting. I should have mentioned that. If you've got someone who is in I'll go back to my inbox. I'm going to use your email from earlier, Ian, if that's okay. So here's an email from Ian. This is in on our, but it's part of the rollout program now, so it might not be on your domain yet, but it will be there very, very shortly. If we just take this as an example, there's a document that Ian's shared with me. If I feel I don't want Ian to keep sharing documents with me, I can block him from the 3 dots menus here. Yep. So the 5th option down is to block that particular email address, and if I click the link, it takes me to a little prompt saying, well, it's this that's going to be blocked, so you know it's Ian's, but from that email. But so you've got control to block him sharing from his account to my account. So that I'm not going to do that, obviously, because I need Ian to share with me, but it allows you to block people who are sending you too much stuff or whatever, should you feel the need to. Okay, and then, like I say, I'll share this at the end, so you've got these, and I do know that you almost certainly do both have these, but just in case, the updates blog, of course, and don't forget that if you do go to the updates blog, you can filter it. So if you think, I'm sure there was an update about Classroom or whatever, you've got filters built in there, so you can actually filter out and find the thing a little bit quicker. And as Ben said earlier, the release calendar gives you a sense of when it's happening and when things are going away, so that you know, and they're both really useful things to have in your bookmarks on your Chrome browser, should you want it. So those are the September updates from Google. Yes, Ian, thank you for that question. I will be sharing the slide deck with everyone directly afterwards. I've got everyone's emails, should they need it. So any thoughts, any questions about any of those? Ian?
Yeah, it was just a sort of quick thing, Paul. From our own sort of point of view, which of those things do you think would make our sort of communications more easier?
That's a really good question. I think the block thing is like to be a relatively rare thing. I don't think we're going to be using that necessarily. I think all the stuff that's coming in Meet, it's just Meet just getting better and better all the time, isn't it? Yeah, like I said, the improved visibility. If you've got someone who's the lights behind them and you can't really see the face, and you feel that you need to, for Google to be able to lighten those images. Hi, Dave, and would be really useful. So I think that makes, so the experience is better. It's not necessarily an efficiency improvement, but it's a usability improvement, if you like. And those are crucial things. But the mute all for us, I think, you think of the number of times you're in a meeting when there's one person that's actually forgotten to mute, rather than having to ask them, just to mute all, and just to, and thanks everyone, just to make life easier, I'm just going to mute you all if that's okay. So you're not highlighting anyone, so there's no embarrassment from, the school or college at the other end that they've forgotten to press that button. So that would be really useful for us, I think. And I think that might be the case for lots of people. I think, Dave, anytime you've got a big meeting, to be able to mute all is really useful without it being an issue. So certainly those are very useful.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess the other thing is, from a workflow point of view, the fact that the integration of Meets, because how many times are we sort of in one of the Google chats or whatever else, and it says, why don't we just quickly jump on a Meet, share the screen, do some design thinking or whatever it is, and not having to then go to another application or another part of Google sort of systems to be able to do that. I think the more they allow us that freedom, then those little seconds that you save all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, within the C Learning team, I don't know what the Dave and Ben and Marcus you find at your school, but we use we use chat a huge amount here at C Learning, and we do that. Have you got a chance for a quick video call? And I will stick the video Meet link in straight after my message and sit on it for 5 minutes while I'm working. And if I hear a bleep, I join it because I know they're available. It's just so convenient to do. So that integration for us is really useful. We use that a lot.
Okay, no, that's great, Paul.
What about the updates? I mean, there's not a huge number, are there, Ben? But what about the updates to the sites, Ben? Because you use sites a lot, don't you?
Yeah, we do for trust level stuff. Yeah, all of our school sites are all on Google Sites. So having the ability or having more freedom with that in terms of theme creations and custom fonts and all sorts coming out now, it's definitely a benefit to us. As I think there was a point where AET wanted to move their central site away from Google Sites because there wasn't enough freedom. Some things just weren't possible, or you weren't able to change certain things. So they were looking at moving their central site away. But you know what? With the features, as you said, it's coming slowly. It's coming bit by bit. But it's certainly going to be useful for the school websites and even for student portfolios as well. I know Music, they do a lot of their portfolios on Google Sites, and having these new functions is definitely be useful to them. Yeah, certainly.
Excellent, thanks, Ben. What about you, Dave? Do you make use of sites at your trust particularly?
Yeah, I have to say I'm a bit frustrated with Google Sites and the speed that the lack of speed in the transition of a lot of the features from classic sites to new sites, which has been around for about 4 years now, something like that. Yeah. Page level permissions being the massive one for us. So we built a whole raft of sites on classic sites, which were permissions based. So we basically built an intranet on it, and we still can't fully transition it across to new sites because the functionality that was in classic sites isn't there. And it's all well and good dropping in some new fonts, but this real core functionality that's still missing for me, and that I think is what we would be very keen on seeing. It's great as a tool for students, as a tool for myself, but in terms of it being suitable for like a corporate approach, there is still a lot of things missing, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the other, I mentioned earlier page level permissions, big one for me, and I did the same at my last school. We had a whole complex of things, and I actually used one of the old templates, which was the blog template, which was built inside classic sites, and students would be guest bloggers. So I'd say it's your turn to write the blog to speak about what we've learned. So that student would write, and the other bit that I had was the option to comment, because that felt like a proper blog then. So the students could be talking about that student's reflection. The other students, their homework was to write a comment in support of the work that the student had written as the the author of that blog. And the kids loved it. They liked the control. They liked to be in charge, and they loved reading the comments that they got. So it was a really positive thing. So I'd like both those features to return. We need to start a campaign, Dave. We need to get on that question mark, don't we? And pester them to death. So,
Definitely.
yeah, excellent, good. Any other thoughts? I mean, I kind of flew through those. Anything from Marcus, from you that you thought, well, that's good to know, or that you've missed, or that you know you're going to be using more?
I was thinking with sites, we just use that as a way of the students showing their science project. And the meetings at the moment, it's not being used so much, but they're using it for the parent-teacher meetings. Meet, which we were transferring from one parent to another during a limited period of time.
Are you using a single meet and the parents are joining one by one, or are you using appointments?
Using a single meet. The link was sent and they just going in at their time scheduled to go into the meeting.
Yeah.
For 15 minutes.
Because didn't you use appointments? You don't anymore, do you, Dave? Because
No.
I remember the conversation, but you used to.
No, we tried in the beginning of appointments. We took it today with our school, and it didn't work out so well.
Yeah, sorry, I was typing an email at the time and couldn't jump back onto a mute.
That's all right.
Yeah, we use it for resource booking. So we use it for booking out sets of Chromebooks and things like that, but we don't use it for parents' evenings because of the need for Google accounts. I know Zaytoon said that they've used it at Witton Park for parents' evenings, but when we tried it, that was still an issue. So appointments is useful, but again, it could be tightened up and made more useful.
Yeah.
It feels like they almost need that that feedback from education users within that ecosystem, because there are elements that they're almost there, and all the tools are there, but there are just slight issues preventing us from using them. Yeah,
I mean, I used appointments in my last school, in an earlier iteration of it when it wasn't quite so slick, but actually the students made the appointments, so of course they had Google accounts, so it wasn't an issue. And parents were just told that this is your appointment. The kids, and what the school made them do for me was they made the appointment online, and then they were made to write it down on a piece of paper, which is their appointments booking form. Which I don't suppose is a bad idea, because it meant that the parents had a piece of paper on the night when they could, because it was face-to-face meetings. They just booked them digitally. That was all. So yeah, okay. Any other observations or thoughts or questions about any of those updates?
I've got a question that's not on those updates that I want to rack someone's brains on, but
yeah, no, go for it, Ben.
It's something that one of our deputy heads brought up this morning. Actually, I've not had a chance to investigate it yet, but if you've got a long Google Doc, let's say of, I don't know, 70 pages, 100 pages, whatever it might be, I don't know why you have a document that long, but if you do, is there a way of skipping to a certain page easily without scrolling all the way down to it, or is the only way to scroll down to those?
You use headings.
Headings. I did think it'd be something along those lines, but I wanted to check with people.
Yeah, and it'll build your navigation on the left. You just need to be aware, because you might not ever have seen it. Let me just go to a new doc. Oops, can't spell. Because they hide it. Sometimes. So let me just, he's there now. Come on. Go on, it's slow. It's slow. Come on.
Yeah, you can go through, you can highlight certain text and just make that heading rather than...
Yeah, and actually you can even just go bold. I think if you go bold, it does it as well.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, I think so. But actually I would still be encouraging them to
Well, it does go like that, yeah.
Yeah. Can't spell, sorry about that. So if you just make them bold, then it adds it to the menu, and then it suddenly appears. But if I just do this, you see the little arrow there?
Yeah.
Yeah, even though it automatically appeared then, I have found a couple of times it doesn't always, and there's this little icon there, and people don't always spot it. So they think, well, where have they all gone? And I don't know why. It's not happened a lot, but I'm certain that's not me going mad. A couple of times I've added headings in, and you've got the full range of headings, of course, so you can just do the standard stuff. And based on where it's at, it indents accordingly. So this becomes a really useful tool. I mean, you can insert bookmark, but that's, you can do it now. Now you've got the heading there. You can still, but that in effect is the same as adding a heading.
Yeah, I want to try and get it as simple as possible, because the person in question, I think just make it as simple as possible for them.
Yeah, so using the headings or just using bold. Once it's been bolded, it appears in there. So that's the one I would do.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, the other thing let me just put into. Come on. I would also show him your format painter.
Yeah.
So if you highlight one, you can click, and then it will hold the formatting when you highlight the next one, and you see the second one's now bolded as well.
Yeah.
But actually, if you highlight and then double click, it stays turned on. So you can do it to multiple things.
Okay.
And then can you see it's got a blue box around it, pale blue box.
But then they don't appear on your heading side and on the left hand side, do they?
Oh right, no they don't. Oh, that's interesting. I thought that they would. I wonder if it does it with the headings. No, I've just undone it. Wait, let me do it. So copy that. It doesn't even if you copy the heading.
That's strange. We need to get back on that question mark.
Yeah, that's heading 2. So that's really interesting. Actually, I thought he always copied the form. It's copied to the formatting of heading 2, but not made it heading 2, hasn't it? I just realised, because that is heading 2, but that is just the same format as. It's not actually heading 2.
Yeah.
I've got to go in. So that's interesting. I didn't even know that. So yeah, so it looks like you've got to use the headings properly or bold.
Yeah.
That will get them there.
That's right.
And with a 70-page document, they've got a lot of headings to make, haven't they?
Well, in question, I can't believe it. When she emailed me this morning, it's a 300-page document.
300 page, blimey.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but I was just asked the question.
Yeah.
So
if it was me, I would. There must be big sections.
Yeah, must
get her to do the headings for the big sections first, because then she's got a navigation.
Yeah.
Because she might not get it all done in a single step. So get her, that's 10 big sections, 10 chapters probably. But she's writing a book. Get her to name those chapters or sections, so she can jump to the right section to do the subheadings within that section.
Yeah.
Without having to scroll all the way down endlessly.
Yeah, cool. All right, I'll pass that on. Thanks for helping with that.
Yeah, that's all right. Any other thoughts? Any questions? Anyone aware of anything that I missed? I mean, I think I've been quite meticulous about going through the update emails I've had this month. I don't think I missed anything.
No, I don't think so.
No. Excellent. Good. I'm pleased I've got it all. Like in the thick of a week of work. Have I got all those updates?
I would love to see on an additional, if we can all submit it. I'd love to see grouping in Google Classroom appear, so we can group by year group or subject even. Almost like you can drop them into folders.
So you can set differentiated tasks easier.
Yeah, and when you go into your classroom, if you teach, 10 to 12 different classes, obviously that doesn't all appear. If you've only got a little 11-inch Chromebook, you can't see all them in one screen. So if you can go on to year 7 and have all your year 7 classes, year 8 see all year 8s, for example.
Right. So in effect, like a topic to be attached to the classroom rather than to the assignments.
Well, yeah, almost like, so teachers and even students potentially can click on it. For example, if you've got two teachers for students, if they had two different teachers for English, let's say, their two classrooms appear under a little English sort of folder within Classroom. So they can click on that and see their two English classrooms that have been created for them by whatever their, whatever service is being used. For us, it's North 27, but could be, a range of other services as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Jamie, you have a question?
Yeah, just on that point, I just wonder whether that will happen when Google rolls out some of the student information system integrations that I know have been in the pipeline for a while. Because once Classroom has a hook, as in a code or some sort of coding system, whether that be subjects or whether that be class codes or whatever, once it can access that, which is obviously different from one institution to another, but once it can tap into that, that would probably facilitate the grouping that was mentioned.
I like that idea, Dave, as well, actually.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's the only way I've been able to find a way around it. It's not perfect. It doesn't work for everybody. And of course, for the students, it doesn't really do a great deal because they tend to be in the same year group for all their classes. So all the students' ones will come out the same colour. But as a teacher, it's the only way I've found of grouping and making it easier for you to navigate your plethora of Google Classrooms.
Paul, could you ask Ben just to share that request or that requirement with us, because it's the sort of thing that Francisco might be able to sort of work around with the Classroom Toolbox.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Would you mind doing that, Ben? Just stick it in an email, and I'll forward it on to Cisco and see what's possible.
Certainly do that. I'll put it on my list and I'll do it later today because I've got.
That'd be brilliant. Whenever you've got a moment, you've got. Sure, your list's already pretty full, but yeah, when you get a moment, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, no problem.
I mean, that's one of the beauties of the Classroom Toolbox is that it's quite exciting that we're so dynamic in the way we can respond, if it's possible, of course. All depends on what APIs there are out there, and there's the functionality. I suspect you might not be, but it's all about whether you can call on an API to do it.
Yeah.
As with all of these things, Paul, if we never ask,
no,
then,
absolutely,
then we never know.
And we do know that Cisco has actually written his own APIs, hasn't he? Because some of them didn't quite do the jobs that he wanted them to do. So who knows? So we'll have to see. What have we noticed? Have we noticed any difference this first month back in terms of usage of apps across your teachers? If you do that kind of analysis, we noticed some apps being used more than had been previously, or less, or
obviously using Meet a lot less for us.
Yeah.
Well, I think everybody, because we're not doing live lessons. I mean, we're still doing some hybrid activities for students off isolating and staff remoting in for live lessons and that sort of thing. But usage of that has dropped. But I think we've moved across to do all our homework now is on Google Classroom rather than Show My Homework this year. So that's although it's gone down from last year because obviously we're using it for every single lesson all the time. That's picked up on previous years because we're now putting all our homework on there. So students and staff are both using that a lot more as such, and it's all in one place, which makes it a lot easier for everybody.
Did you have Show My Homework right across the trust?
Yeah.
Blimey, that's quite a saving.
It's Moulton's moved away from it a little while ago, but for some reason Rick Stone's held on for a little while, but they've now come away, realised what saving they're making and how it makes a lot more sense to put it in one place rather than scattered in different places. Yeah. Students actually get it done. Well, most students get it done.
The thing for me in Classroom is the to-do list. I think that's really useful for kids.
Yeah.
All the assignments across all the classes they can see in a single page.
And they can filter it by class as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah. It just makes it easier to find it, doesn't it? Rather than having to go to every single classroom and look for stuff each time.
It does rely on teachers putting due dates on though. And not all teachers do that, as I've found out. That is heavily reliant on them putting due dates on each and every assignment.
Yeah.
What we need is integration with MIS systems Google Classroom better, because I think pretty much all MIS systems now will have an option to communicate with parents and to provide links through to homework. What we're finding though is that on both Sims and an Arbor, you're duplicating work, or you know, from a teacher's perspective, you have to set it in one location and then the other. It would be great to have that kind of joined up approach between Google and the big MIS providers. And I know that it will always be the American ones first, because I think they've done something with Clever recently, haven't they?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
But that I think is the next one that really would make a huge difference and really embed Google Classroom as the only option really for Google schools in providing homework and being able to track it, because we've got the Guardian updates within Classroom, and you can see things from there. But what we would like to see is a one-stop shop for parents. They've got one site to go to, and everything else is through their parent portal. But the homework is either duplicated, and therefore you can't rely on it being the same, or then they have to go through to Google Classroom, and there are limited visibility. There's limited visibility there, isn't there?
Yeah.
That would be great to see in terms of a development.
Yeah.
It's something they're working on, isn't it? That you're going to be able to pull in data from MIS systems. I've seen an update about that somewhere in one of the videos last year, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, they've done it with Sims, and it's not what we're looking at. It's not really for homework. It's more about synchronizing classes.
Okay.
And synchronizing your class roster. Which obviously we've got other ways of doing. You know, we use Salamander or Ruler or things like that to do it. But yeah, there's no work that I've seen going on at the moment about linking up the functionality for providing homework across an MIS and Google Classroom.
Yeah.
I
I don't know if you're reading the message feed. Ian was asking, do you three, Marcus, Ben, Dave, have a backup solution for your workspace?
Good question.
We don't. Just that's typed or backed up by the automatic backup option when you're deleting an account.
Yeah, ours is just through Google Vault, really. That would be our backup.
I think ours would be Google Vault as well. I can't remember off the top of my head, because obviously I don't have access to the admin console anymore now. It's been taken by RM, but yeah, I'm sure it's Google Vault we use.
It did make me think on Friday though, one of our local schools had a cyber attack. Now they're not a Google school, they're a O365 school, but they had all of their servers encrypted, all of their accounts blocked, and all of their Office 365 accounts blocked as well. And all their backups have been encrypted as well, because there wasn't a break between two systems. So it's my team meeting this week for my team is to discuss what do we do in the event of a cyber attack, and what can we put in place to restrict things. We've already put some things in place, because it just focuses the mind when it happens that close to you.
Yeah, Dave, it will be really interesting once you've had that conversation to sort of touch base with you, because I know talking to Jamie and the Google team, then there is a lot of work going on in the background to help both schools or colleges or universities who use Office 365 almost mirror, but in safe mode, sort of their key Google resources inside a Google domain. So if you were attacked, then you just pull out the envelope, switch, to Dave Leonard at, and off you go without that cross-contamination, because obviously there's no point switching to something else to still be contaminated. You've got to have the cross-contamination. And the other thing is, I'm intrigued that people are still thinking that Google Vault is a backup solution to their domain. because for all my understanding, you can retrieve individual files out of Google Vault, but in no way would you be able to use it as a sort of backup and restore service back into your file structures and whatever else. So I think there's an opportunity for a wider discussion about alternative ways of it for that less than 1%, because everybody is using Google Workspace, which is immediate tick in the box. You are reducing the threat that you're exposed to, the risk that you're exposed to in terms of cyber attacks or ransomware. But as Fintan Murphy from Downs and Cloud shared last week, there is nothing which is 100% safe and secure. So if there was a way of backing up some key sensitive materials, perhaps that is an option that people might be more interested in. But yeah, let us know, Dave, how your conversation goes. Share with us your ideas on how you might protect these other people until they're all on board, and we'll share with you our ideas as well. Okay.
Yeah, I think I have seen a few options for backing up cloud services. I've not spoken to anyone who's convinced me that they are particularly strong. A few years ago, I have to admit I've not visited it recently, so I'd be interested in seeing something about that. Because
no, that's fine. And I know Chris is on the call because we're talking with a couple of people. But to put it into context, Chris, the 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, 4 terabyte 3 times a day type of typical cloud backup and restore solutions. What's the price points of 1, 2, and 4?
Yeah, using a company like AFI that we have been working with. We've had a quote recently for a school, unlimited number of users, 2 and 4 terabytes. I think around about the £900 mark for the 2 terabytes.
The year, Dave, that is.
For a year. And then for 4, a little bit under that, so about £1,700, that kind of area. But that's 4 terabytes is quite a bit of storage. and like I say, it's based on your overall footprint rather than the number of users, so you don't have to worry about individual users being covered. Everybody gets covered under that remit for 2 to 4 terabytes.
Yeah.
My concern with that is that I think our storage is probably around about 900 terabytes last time we checked.
Okay.
And it's then how do we identify what is useful and worth backing up and what isn't out of that?
No, and these are really important answers, because I know that we've been doing some work, and maybe this is another topic, Paul. You're the administrators of a Google Workspace domain, and whether you've got 100 terabytes or 900 terabytes or 3 petabytes or whatever it is, then with Google changing their storage limits, with all of these rising challenges being put in place, how can an administrator identify, because it might be, Dave, that and I'll just pick this, that the marketing manager has got literally every presentation, awards evening or whatever else of every sports day and every prize giving day on high definition video stored in their Google Drive, and between them they've got 500 terabytes of storage. You know, I'm not saying that that's the case, but or the MIS person have got sort of the last 15 years copies of all their MAS data stored there. So sometimes you probably know this anyway, but sometimes there are sort of ways of analyzing your storage sort of usage to say, okay, really, this stuff isn't that important. And actually, almost from a GDPR point of view, we should get rid of it. There's no actual need for us to hold it. Or if you wanted to hold it, then I know from some of the discussions with Google and others, rather than online storage, there's a nearline storage, which, you know, costs a fraction of the thing, because I'd like to be able to just call upon it, but if it took 24 hours for the video from 2012 to come back online, that's fine. I'm not going to sort of break sweat over 24 hours because I would never be able to get it from a set of tapes, because I'd have to find where the tapes are.
Yeah, absolutely. If that's an option, I'd certainly be interested in hearing more. I think I've overestimated, actually. I've just been checking it whilst you've been talking there, Ian, and I think Matthew Moss is about 115 terabytes.
Okay.
Which is interesting because the rest of the trust is only about 9 terabytes. So either I've miscalculated somewhere else in the past, or I've lost about 800 terabytes of data. So
I think your housekeeping during the summer, Dave, is exemplary. I commend you for getting rid of 800 terabytes.
It's interesting, though, you mentioned about the GDPR, because that is something that we are putting in for emails. We're putting in our retention schedule of 6 months for the majority of accounts. Because of subject access requests. Cheers, Ben. See you later, mate. Subject access requests have been a real scare for us. We had 30,000 pages, I think, of emails come up for one subject access request, and it's prompted us to realise that so much is stored in email that doesn't need storing. There are other things that absolutely do need storing, though, and there's times when it's been a godsend to be able to go back to emails from 2016. So I'm trying to plot a course through that one as well.
No, I think this sort of evolving best practice of storage, near storage, deleted stuff, backup stuff, because again, I think we just look at the Google stuff and say, well, it's fine. It's always safe. It's always secure. We don't need to do anything to back it up. But at that point, because nobody can say it's 100% secure, if for the one of £900 or whatever it is, those key resources, and the way my mind thinks on these, and I welcome other people's view, is whilst it's a shame that the student work might get deleted, if the teacher's work or the senior leadership resources, if that got deleted, it would be much more difficult to recover that. And also the people just about to do their exams, portfolio stuff or whatever else, that's more important than somebody in year 7. And it's not that I'm saying that students work in year 7 is not important. It's just you can redo that. Whereas if I've got a portfolio of artwork that I'm just about to submit or whatever else, it's very difficult to go and do that in my final year. So I think there's something in there that we could have a very productive discussion on.